Morning,
Good
Les.
morning, Dave. See, I was trying to beat you to it.
No, I was there. I got it first, millisecond first.
You did.
So Dr. Ari tells me he's in a very compassionate mood this morning for reasons that are unclear to me, because he's certainly not very compassionate to me before this broadcast started. So what's going on?
Maybe it's just a projection on your part, David. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, Les and I did a workshop on Saturday, and we had a great time. I know we keep overstating our case, but I'm telling you, this idea of obsessive thought patterns tortures a lot of people, if not everybody, to some degree. And we were able to sort through it. Both he and I, as we work through these processes, we're able to think more clearly about it. But we're switching gears next few weeks, maybe even longer. This is a huge, huge, huge topic on healing your family's pain. And I'll just tell you my evolution into this. And Dr. Ari's been doing this for much longer than I have. But kind of about 10 years ago, I realized that my mother was a pain patient. And she's also a rageaholic. Also realize when you're trapped by anything, finances, relationships, pain, that you're frustrated and angry. And so she was a chronic pain patient. My father was a physician. She would swipe my father's samples. Um, even when we went on car rides, she actually would take all four kids and put us on barbiturates. I'm
Wow.
not kidding. And my cousins reminded me of that recently is that my uncle could not figure out why we were such well-behaved kids. And he finally figured out, because he was a physician also, that my mother was giving us barbiturates. It worked really well.
Wow.
That might explain a few things. So anyway, what I'm saying is that we finally figured the last few years that chronic pain takes a devastating toll on the family. Because when you're in pain, you're trapped and you're angry. And your family often becomes the targets of your anger.
Yeah.
And then it goes back and forth and back and forth. So instead of your family being a support system in a place you feel safe and where your family feels safe, they become targets with devastating results.
Yeah.
So the last few years of my practice, after I realized this, that we realized that we could do all this other work, and the family dynamics would pull people back into the hole over and over and over again. So we evolved a process that's been very powerful, and Les has added a bunch of dimensions to this. So from our perspective, the family issues are maybe one of the biggest factors keeping people in pain, but also extremely powerful in pulling people out of pain.
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Arya, any thoughts on that this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. And family and these days can be described in different ways, not just the family unit at home. Family can be you might not have family, you might be the only person alive, and then you might be connected with friends and work and or community. That could be your family, or your synagogue, or church, or temple. So that can be also family. But I think what David and I are saying is sometimes when we're trying, and I really like the word you used, because the moment you said trapped, I had this image of when I was a kid. My brother used to put his finger, and I was coming up from the pool, he would just press it down. And I'm not sure why I didn't grab his hands, but I felt trapped in that state of desperation.
Right.
And it was just, it never made pool, hanging out by the pool fun, because my brother would do that. Now, the funny thing is pain, anxiety, depression, chronic medical conditions has that same effect. And I really like the word, hopefully the audience picked up on it, that when we feel trapped, it really just magnifies. So maybe your mom was trapped, for that matter, whether in chronic pain or just not being there, someone being there for them. A lot of kids, children and adults alike, we need two things specifically to feel comfortable and to have a less reactive nervous system. Two things. We need to feel connected or attached to something. And very often we look to the outside world to soothe us, to comfort us. And when someone is not there, it seems to activate our nervous system. The other thing is we need to feel safe. So if home environment is chronically, or what's consistent is the consistency of chaos, the constant argument, the habits, things like that, or just like you said, finances. Ultimately, when we don't feel connected with something and someone, if not connected with yourself or people that will love and love you back, when you don't feel connected and you don't feel safe, that it's not safe to speak, it's not safe to engage in things. Safety and connections are key to a healing nervous system, David.
Well, we're trying to keep the conversation this morning sort of introductory, because there are multiple factors to this issue. But the metaphor I like to hold out there that I'd like to get to is that of a huge oak tree.
Yeah.
And the parents, whatever parents, partners, whoever is the foundation of the family is the trunk. Then as you grow and nourish, the branches spread out and you
Yeah.
protect the family. And so the one role parents have is to help your kids feel safe and nurtured in the word play.
Yeah.
That's it, nothing else. You don't have to pass on your wisdom. You don't have to show them this, and this.
Yeah.
And we know when people are angry, they can be critical of other people. Your kids
Yeah.
don't feel safe. Your spouse doesn't feel safe. Your partner doesn't feel safe. So a lot of things come out when you're angry and frustrated. You start reacting. Remember, the essence of abuse is anger. The essence of a relationship is awareness. So if I'm not aware of your needs and I keep consistently not meeting your needs, abuse is too big of a word for that particular situation, but it's the start of abuse is not being aware of other people's needs. So abuse isn't malevolent, it's
Yeah.
unawareness. You're
Yes.
not, yeah. I mean, my mother, I mean, in her defense, she had 4 kids in 5 years. My father worked 100 hours a week. She was not emotionally prepared to have 4 kids in 5 years. She just wasn't. So she didn't know what else to do. So she's trapped by relationship. She's trapped by 4 kids in the house, and she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So in her defense, she was reacting all the time. I get it now. So I'm not trying to excuse her behavior because it was abusive, but it wasn't malevolent. It wasn't
Yeah.
like she woke up every morning. Then when she was in her rage, she would always apologize profusely afterwards. And I
Oh,
never understood that till later.
right.
So the tragedy for her is that she didn't get the chance to really enjoy 4 beautiful kids. She didn't get a chance to do that. Never did. So it's tragic. So anger comes into the household with chronic pain, both mental and physical, by the way, coming in the front door. Is having instead of having peace, love, joy, and safety, it's the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly, it's very well said, David. And I think you're right. This is a large topic. And as we continue this week about family, it really is important for us to do. I really like what you said. It's just the basics of, in your own words, like nurturing and being there. I call it showing up. This is why when I do psychological work or use my psychological therapies, the interventions, I call it showing up. So not just, showing up for your family there, physically there, for your grandkids. It's also mentally showing up for your family on the inside. Again, today we'll keep it simple. We just want to let you know that when things at home are not feeling safe and you're not connected, as David said, nurturing and just being there, the nervous system becomes reactive. And I like how you said that was a great example. Very often we get triggered and angered, and then it's almost spills over into everything we touch.
Right. And then you get the mirror neurons effect that you're upset, you've upset your family, and vice versa. And there's also the other way around. A family that's upset. I mean, when you're angry, you're a bully. And eventually people get worn out. So I mean, there's many layers to this conversation. So we don't have any major advice this morning. Maybe Dr. Ari is going to come up with one here in a second. But the main thing today is that these are, remember, humans evolved by social connection. The deeper the connection, the better. One of the worst paradoxes of the human existence is that the deeper the connection, the worse the triggers. So that's the key issue, is that there's ways of creating structure around anger in the family, actually de-energize it, break it up, and move it outside the house, and then protecting your house from your chronic pain and anger. Again, both mental and physical pain, either one of those are a problem that come into the household on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's my whole key, is to become aware how powerful these bonds are.
Yeah.
And the family dynamics kept people in pain, but also incredibly powerful in pulling people out of pain.
Yeah. So David, we do have to give them some sort of intervention or home practice.
Okay.
So,
I'm all ears.
All ears, it's beautiful. So one of the things is that just name it to tame it. Just kind of repeat that in your head. Name it to tame it. Name what? When you're activated, triggered, angered, doesn't matter. When you're feeling the wrath in you, before you actually ring that bell of anger or speak something, it's very difficult. It will come out, it will slip. However, even as you're doing it or have done it, spoken something that's unhelpful or not compassionate or considerate or kind, it is still important for you to say this. So this is what anger feels like in my body. leave your head and come to your body. And the more you tune into your body, the more you can actually start to work with it. And this is where we start today. As David said, this is very complex, but your home practice for the next 24 hours is to try this. When you're irritated or scared or irritable about something or frustrated, simply say, so this is what anger feels like, or this is what frustration feels like.
So listen, I know we're out of time, but I have to read this little quote by Solzhenitsyn, which I think is really powerful.
Cool.
I think is basically what you just said. Let me get 1 second here.
Beautiful.
All right, I think this is very powerful because one of the things we'll be discussing is, what is your family seeing when you are angry? And my wife and I have a joke that's not a joke, that anger isn't attractive.
Yeah.
It's just not. Now, anyway, I won't go there.
Yeah, I was thinking about a few things, but go on.
Okay, this is very profound. This is from Solzhenitsyn. What about the main thing in life? All its riddles. If you want, I will spell it out for you right now. Do not pursue what is illusionary, property, and position. All that is gained at the expense of your nerves, decade after decade, is confiscated in one fell night. Live with a steady superiority over life. Don't be afraid of misfortune, and do not yearn after happiness. It is, after all, the same. The bitter doesn't last forever, and the sweet never fills a cup to overflowing. It is enough if you don't freeze in the cold, and if thirst and hunger don't claw at your inside. If your back isn't broken, if your feet can walk, if both arms can bend, if both eyes see and both ears hear, then whom should you envy and why? Our envy of others devours us most of all. Rub your eyes and purify your heart, and prize above all those who love you and wish you well. Do not hurt them or scold them, and never part from them in any type of anger. After all, you simply do not know. It might be your last act before your arrest, and that is how you'll be imprinted on their memory.
Wow.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah, I mean, there's, again, so many layers to that, lots of implications to that saying, but we're going to talk about this a lot. And it's a very powerful process. It's the most rewarding part of my practice is that people can keep you in pain and you can pull you out of pain.
Yeah. Oh, so well said, David.
Anyway, Les, have a great day.
David, you too. Everyone,
have a
have a
good
great
one.
one. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.